The Red Lion Knights of the Rojas Empire are known for being really hardworking and fair, since they don't care whether someone is a man or a woman. They protect the royal family whenever there's an invasion or rebellion. Their reputation is so scary that neighboring countries are afraid of them. The person who really adds to their scary reputation is Kalia Taxgate, the brutal commander of the Red Lion Knights. Kalia Taxgate is the youngest commander-in-chief and the best soldier in the history of the Empire. She's the hero who ended the 7-year-long bitter war. Now, she's pregnant, which surprises her. The knights train hard every day, and this tough training often makes female knights infertile. Kalia thought she was the same and can't believe she's pregnant. She's an orphan who is left in a dark alley when she is very young. To survive, she eats trash and scraps. But surprisingly, this doesn't stop her from growing strong and healthy. When Kalia was just 6 years old, she did something amazing. She saved a little duke who had been kidnapped. This brave act changed her life. The duke's family was very grateful, and they gave her the chance to learn how to use a sword. She started training in swordsmanship, something she never thought she would be able to do. Kalia worked incredibly hard every day. Her hard work paid off, and she rose through the ranks. Eventually, because of her determination and skill, she became the commander-in-chief of the empire. It was a huge achievement for someone who started with nothing. Kalia Taxgate, once a humble orphan, became the well-respected and praised hero of the empire. But she always wanted more than just fame and success. She wanted a family. Now she finally has a baby on the way. She is incredibly happy, but tries to stay calm for the sake of her baby. However, there's a big problem when it comes to the baby's father. The only person it could be is Simon Terowan. Despite being young, Simon is a duke and a powerful archmage in the empire. He's also a fellow war hero. The little duke Kalia saved when she was 6 years old grows up to be her best friend, Simon Terowan. Now, she's pregnant with her best friend's baby. It all happens because of a mistake they make one night. But to Kalia, the baby is the most precious thing in the world. She wants her baby to grow up hearing only the best words and surrounded by love. Just hearing the word baby is enough to make her heart race with joy and excitement. A thought comes to Kalia's mind. She was born, so she had to stay alive. Because she was so busy just trying to survive, she endured everything and gave up on the idea of having a family. Many times, she asked herself if she could ever have a family of her own, even if there was just a small chance. One day, by accident, it happens. She doesn't care if it was just a one-night stand. A miracle has occurred. Now, she is determined to protect her baby no matter what. Kalia tells herself that she needs to stay calm, but she worries about whether the Duke's family will accept an illegitimate child. The atmosphere in the duchy is tense and serious. Despite this, she hopes with a friendly smile that Simon, the Duke, won't tell her to abort the baby. She believes he won't, as he's kind and understanding. Simon has no intention of making her relive the same painful pleasure they experienced that one night. He tells her that the baby is innocent and a blessing. Kalia feels relieved hearing this. She wants to protect her baby from negative emotions like hate and ensure that the baby grows up surrounded by love and positivity. Kalia knows she has enough strength and money to protect her child, so she wonders why she doesn't just marry Simon. She thinks she doesn't have to ask him to act as a father. Kalia and Simon were like siblings when they were young. He is her comrade and drinking buddy, someone she can chat with all night. However, the last time they met, Simon mentioned he is slowly getting ready for marriage. He asked her what he should do, hinting that there is a lady he has kept in his heart for a long time. This makes Kalia pause and think about what to do next. Kalia realizes she might not need to tell Simon about the baby. But she wonders what she would do if Simon told her to get rid of the child. Even if he shows a displeased expression, would she really need to give up her baby just because he said so? Simon is clever and exceptionally powerful, especially with his magic. He's not someone easy to deal with. If she ever had to consider getting rid of him, it would be a complicated plan that would take a long time to execute. Just thinking about it makes her uneasy. Kalia knows she doesn't want to harm Simon, but she can't just leave things like this. If she does, everything could get messed up. she starts thinking there must be another way. Maybe it's time for her to step back and retire from her duties. As she looks at her uniform, memories flood back to an encounter she had about her buttons. It makes her reflect on her past and consider what's really important to her now. Right now, Kalia smiles to herself, thinking about how she was treated like a fool. She wonders how she ended up spending the night with a guy like him. Looking out of the window, she sees everything is calm and quiet. Perhaps after 7 years of war, things have finally settled down. Kalia considers that maybe it's a good moment for the war hero to fade away. Kalia comes downstairs in her uniform, humming a tune. The squire of Kalia is amazed to see her in the uniform. Inside, the squire thinks how Kalia looks most perfect when she wears her sword and transforms completely. She's not just a skilled fighter, but also a captivating figure, like a beautiful demon born from the sky. The squire recalls how Kalia once saved the young duke from a kidnapping when she was only 6 years old. It's a reminder of her bravery and skill that still impresses everyone around her today. When she was 15, she aced the official exam with the highest score ever. By the time she turned 17, she was already recognized for her master-level skills. At just 19 years old, she took on the role of protecting the prince, a position usually held by someone around 40. She's seen as a genius among geniuses, a rare talent not seen for many generations. Despite the rumors swirling around her, she pays them no mind and focuses on her duties and achievements. Gallus meets Kalia and asks if she's heading out. Kalia replies that she wants to go alone, so Gallus should stay there. Gallus nods understandingly, mentioning she'll fetch White from the stable. As Gallus hurries off, Kalia thinks to herself how smart Gallus is, despite being sometimes overly generous and a bit stubborn. Gallus brings the white horse, but then Kalia suddenly remembers her situation. She tells Gallus to take the horse back and prepare the carriage instead. Gallus thinks to herself that she's never used a carriage before. Meanwhile, Kalia reflects that even though she doesn't know much about pregnancy, she understands that riding a horse can be risky. She reminds herself to be cautious and take care of herself afterward. Kalia arrives at her destination and thinks to herself that she's about to meet that person. Inside the palace, she overhears some ladies gossiping amongst themselves. As she walks, Kalia wonders how she will tell His Highness about her pregnancy. Should she quit her job? Maybe it's time for her to move on? She's unsure of what to say or how things will unfold from here. Just then, Helena Teroan walks up to Kalia. She mentions she's almost sad, and Kalia apologizes, explaining she was lost in thought and didn't hear her approach. Helena asks if Kalia is okay these days, noting she looks thin. Helena gently touches Kalia's face. Kalia thinks to herself that Helena, with her dark blue half-elf heritage, retains her beauty even though she's over 40 years old. One of the ladies mentions hearing from Kalia that Helena looks just like her mother. Helena confirms this proudly, mentioning that both the general and the shaman are sources of pride for their family. Despite being such a beautiful girl, Helena admits she was quite careless when she was younger. The conversation shifts to the famous story of friendship between Shaman and Kalia, highlighting their bond that is well known among the people. During their conversation, Helena mentions that she's been busy dealing with the children lately. She reminds Kalia that Shaman, her son, will become the baby's grandfather. Helena acknowledges that while Kalia grew up in the Duke's household, her upbringing was humble. She lived in a room without sunlight and ate with the maids. Back then, if Kalia wanted to see Shaman, she had to ask Madame Helena for permission or assistance. It's a moment of reflection on their past and how their paths have intertwined over the years. In their discussion, they ponder which family would need permission to meet the emperor. Kalia reflects that as a child, she didn't come from an important clan. However, with the Duke family's backing, her current position is secure. They simply need to stay near each other in crowded places. Kalia thinks it's amusing how some might see this as a joke, but it's not something difficult for her to manage. Kalia thanks Helena for her concern and says she'll visit when she has time. Helena assures her to remember the promise and mentions her talk with Princess Michelle is taking longer than expected, apologizing for keeping Kalia waiting. Kalia smiles and hopes Helena had a good conversation. Helena confirms it was pleasant and says goodbye as she leaves. Each wife wants to flaunt her stylish clothes, adorned with beautiful lace. But despite their efforts, none can outshine Helena. She's unmatched in beauty, and even her social circle can't help but admire her. In Raymond Roxas's office, the prince talks to Shaman about an idea. He suggests what would happen if Shaman opened the window suddenly. Would the flying documents return immediately? Shaman uses his magic to neatly arrange the papers, impressing Raymond. Raymond wonders aloud why Shaman uses such powerful magic just for organizing paperwork. He thinks it might be a waste of Shaman's incredible talent. Deep down, Raymond empathizes with the frustration wizards must feel when their abilities aren't fully utilized. He admits he sometimes feels envious of their powers, even though they can also be overwhelming. Raymond asks Shaman why he suddenly returned from his holidays and came here. Shaman replies that he must have come to see Kalia. Something happened about 2 months ago, right after Kalia's victory party. Since then, Shaman has been acting strangely excited. He used to be distant, but now he gets nervous whenever he sees Kalia. Shaman reassures Raymond that he's probably worrying over nothing. On the other hand, Kalia has been her usual self for the past 2 months, unchanged by whatever happened after her party. Shaman tells Raymond that he really wants to meet Kalia but needs permission or an excuse like a business trip to see her. He hopes everything goes smoothly. Raymond jokingly tells him not to use his office as a meeting place for romance. Shaman agrees and says he's leaving now to avoid getting involved in office matters. Just then, Kalia's presence is announced outside. Shaman quickly exits through the window, saying he's making a dramatic exit to go meet her. It's a spontaneous and somewhat playful moment as Shaman navigates his feelings and plans to see Kalia. Raymond thinks to himself that it's a bit unfortunate, but he owes his current position to his ambitious cousin and Kalia. Only those who have reached a certain level of understanding can truly shine. For the Empire to progress, Shaman's magical abilities are crucial. Similarly, Kalia's bravery and dedication have been invaluable to the Empire. Despite any personal feelings Raymond may have about Shaman or Kalia, he acknowledges their importance. Shaman has risked everything for Kalia, and Kalia has risked everything for the Empire. Kalia walks into the office and greets Raymond. He mentions that today is a holiday and asks her why she's here. Kalia replies that she's come to request retirement. Raymond drops his pen and smiles, saying he thinks he just heard something strange. Kalia insists that he heard right. She wants to retire as soon as possible. He stands up, puzzled, and asks her what she means. Walking up to her, he looks concerned and she holds his arm, asking if he's okay. He reassures her that he's fine and asks why she's suddenly making this decision. Kalia explains that she wants to take a break and retire from her current position. Raymond suggests if she needed a vacation, she could have simply asked him. However, Kalia clarifies that she wants to retire altogether, not just take time off. Raymond tries to understand her reasons. He asks Kalia if she has ever wanted to go on a long trip and where she wants to go. Kalia hesitates but says it's all right. However, Raymond presses on, asking if it's because of Shaman. He questions how their relationship ended so quickly in just a month or two. Internally, Kalia acknowledges that it's true their relationship didn't last long, but her decision isn't solely about Shaman. She reflects that her future is already planned out, and she can't even tell Raymond that she's pregnant with Shaman's child. It's a moment of hesitation and complexity. She tells Raymond that she needs time to find peace. While she used the big word retirement, she assures him that if he ever needs her, she'll always return. However, because this break won't be short, she's ready to leave for now. Kalia emphasizes that her decision isn't about betraying the country or the imperial family. She can't explain everything in detail, but she believes it's time for her to focus on starting a family. As she leaves the office after the meeting, Kalia thinks to herself that she's overcome a hurdle. She notices that the days are getting shorter, signaling the impending start of rainy days. The imperial rainy season is brief but intense, lasting about 2 to 3 weeks. During this time, the sky remains dark and the rain pours incessantly. The Empire's Ministry of Magic works hard to minimize damage during the rainy season. They deploy various types of magic across the nation to support these efforts. As a result, this period becomes the busiest time of the year for the ministry. It's a crucial time when their magic is vital in protecting the empire from the harsh effects of the weather. So, she needs to leave before the rainy season kicks in fully. Once it starts, it'll be too late for her to go. There's a lot she needs to get ready before then. She figures she should meet Shaman at least once before she leaves. Just then, she spots him outside through the window. She wonders how this happened. Was it the alcohol they drank that day that caused this? Or maybe Derek's strange scroll? Now she's left wondering who or what she should blame for this unexpected encounter. That day was the victory celebration party, and amidst the praises for Kalia, Shaman watches quietly from a corner. Eventually, they step outside together. He asks her why she's drinking so much today, and she replies that she just wants to. It feels good. Internally, she notes that he appears friendly, but his words are cold. She jokingly calls him a weird guy, and he retorts that if he's weird, Dunn is the annoying one. Then, Shaman takes her hand and tells her he has something to give her, asking her to follow him. Shaman tells Kalia that it's her birthday today, and she smiles, saying it's not actually her real birthday. She confides in him secretly that she considers the day she joined the Duke family as her true birthday. Shaman responds by saying that if she tells him it's her birthday, then it's her birthday. They share this sincere moment in a peculiar place. In Shaman's lab on the top floor of the tower, he hands Kalia a scroll. He tells her it's a special scroll that erases the traces of whoever uses it. It can't be detected by magic or even tracking dogs within a 20-kilometer radius. As he explains more about the scroll and its box, he mentions it's handmade by a great wizard. Internally, Kalia finds Shaman's gesture charming, which annoys her a bit. She starts to understand why other women might talk about him in such admiring ways. He tells Kalia that the scroll doesn't rely on a specific casting range. She can simply tear it apart and call him whenever she needs. He gently touches her face and assures her that he can find her anywhere, even on the other side of the continent. Feeling awkward, Kalia removes his hand. Shaman chuckles and calls her a dummy, admitting he's foolish for expecting anything more from her. He tells Kalia that for over 5 years he's been observing her closely, yet she remains a simple and unaware general focused solely on swords and wards. Internally, Kalia notes it's better not to disturb Shaman when he's in that solitary state. She decides to keep her distance for now. Finding a quiet corner, she begins reading the scrolls. Shaman approaches her nervously, sweating, and insists she should hand it over because it's dangerous. Kalia disagrees, sensing the importance and intrigue of the scrolls herself. After some discussion, he asks her if she isn't curious about the magic scroll he's holding. It supposedly reveals whether someone is in love or not. He explains that if she tears it apart with someone she cares about, something amazing will happen. When you're with the person you love, your heart races uncontrollably. For example, he admits feeling almost crazy with the desire to kiss her. He's touched it so much that his white skin now shows red handprints. Just thinking about closing the gap between their lips makes him yearn to take it further. It's a moment charged with tension and emotion as Shaman tries to convey the scroll's significance to Kalia. As Kalia pours herself a drink, she comments that this isn't like the rough battlefield where such radical expressions are common. Shaman asks for an explanation, wondering if he sounded rude or if she misunderstood his intent because she found it playful. Kalia shouts back, denying it, and accidentally drops the scroll. Shaman picks it up and explains that it's a tale that unfolds when two people who care deeply for each other tear the scroll apart. Otherwise, it's just a piece of paper, so there's nothing wrong with handling it carefully. He tells Kalia she has some skill in mental magic and asks if she can simply brush it off. He's actually wondering if the scroll already works and suggests finding someone to test it with. He jokes about their rock-solid life as generals and suggests they personally experiment with it. He reassures her there's nothing to worry about. Kalia declines, saying she doesn't want to because she sees no reason to do it. He then asks her if she likes him, just curious if something might happen. She replies by telling him to tear the scroll and see what happens. She wonders to herself if being around Shaman will affect her emotions. After a while, Shaman asks her why she's acting this way. He touches her hand, asking if her eyes hurt, but she pulls her hand away. She starts recalling what he said earlier and feels confused about her feelings. Suddenly, she decides to leave. Shaman tries to stop her, but she tells him to be quiet. She quickly mounts her horse and rides away. It's a moment filled with tension and uncertainty as Kalia grapples with her thoughts and the interaction with Shaman. She returns and grabs his shirt, demanding that he decode the scroll quickly. He responds, saying it's impossible. Then, unexpectedly, she kisses him. It's a sudden and surprising moment between them. Right now, Kalia thinks to herself that even if she doesn't voice it out loud, the life growing inside her belly is proof enough. She had a baby in just one night with a friend who she grew up with like a brother. She walks down to meet Shaman. He comments that it's been 2 weeks since they last spoke. Kalia nods and admits it's true. He remarks that she managed to handle the situation quite well. Despite her attempt to apologize, he got upset and asked her to leave. In a flashback at the Imperial Garden, Shaman shares with Kalia how much pressure his family elders are putting on him to get married. He expresses uncertainty about whether there's a lady he'll be betrothed to. Kalia reassures him, saying he's not too old to worry about marriage. She promises that when he does get married, she'll genuinely congratulate him. She adds that she'll keep her word about supporting him through that day's work until the end. Currently, Shaman expresses his frustration, admitting he feels like venting it out physically. Kalia, caught off guard, sympathizes with him, confessing she hadn't realized he was going through such a rough time. She explains how she struggled to get out of bed all day, despite usually being perceived as tough and resilient. Shaman elaborates further, explaining it wasn't that he physically couldn't come down. Rather, he chose not to face the day's challenges. He emphasizes the importance of acknowledging the significant differences in their situations. Feeling remorseful, Kalia offers a sincere apology, acknowledging that she may have overlooked his emotional struggles and the weight of his responsibilities. After a brief conversation, Kalia admits that their friendship has evolved into something more like desire. Shaman responds, saying he needs to focus on repairing the defense magic circle for the next 2 weeks. He promises to return and explain everything thoroughly. He asks Kalia to wait for him and not go anywhere until he's back. Curious, Kalia asks if Shaman still dislikes children. He bluntly replies that there's nothing he's ever liked in that regard. Shaman mentions that he's been thinking about getting married lately, but he quickly adds that he doesn't want to have children. Kalia looks away, feeling unsure. Shaman notices and asks her why she brought up the topic of marriage all of a sudden. Kalia thinks to herself that the real reason she mentioned it is because Shaman already has a child. She doesn't say this out loud, though. Shaman then says he needs to leave and that he'll go first. As Shaman walks away, Kalia thinks again about the child. She decides that, for Shaman's sake, it's best not to talk about the child at all. Shaman thinks to himself that Kalia is really silly. He holds a small jewelry box with rings inside and smiles. He thinks about how good she is, with her lemon-colored hair tied up high. She always stands tall and firm, with her back straight and chin up, looking straight ahead. Kalia is a woman who doesn't know how to be tricky and is always completely honest. The scar on her arm is something she'll have forever, and she sees it as a badge of honor. It shows how hard she's worked and is proof of what made her the person she is today. Some foolish nobles mockingly call her Iron Lady Kalia, but their words don't bother her. She walks proudly, head held high, ignoring their sarcasm. Shaman sees all the scars on her body and feels a strong urge to protect her. Flashback to the morning after their one-night stand, Shaman wakes up and notices Kalia is gone. He thinks to himself that after what happened yesterday, there's no way she could have overslept. When he goes down to the tower lobby, a lady is waiting for him. She says, "Finally, you're here. I've been waiting so long I almost finished the book I brought, and it's the only one I have with me." As he looks at her, he remembers seeing her at the victory party. He thinks back to Raymond introducing her as the third princess of Ains. She explains that she saw General Kalia leave a little while ago, so she decided to wait, thinking Shaman would come down soon too. She smiles and asks if he can guess why she's been waiting for him. Shaman, feeling puzzled, says he has no idea. The woman introduces herself as Princess Luina of Ains. She takes a deep breath and then, with a serious look, says she has something important to ask him. Luina then says, "I am here to propose marriage to you. Will you marry me?" Shaman is taken aback and doesn't know how to respond. He stands there, stunned, as he tries to process what she just said. Shaman thinks to himself that what started as a pleasant morning has suddenly become really annoying. He tells Luina that while her proposal is nice, he can't accept it and must decline. Luina, now angry, yells, asking if it's because of Kalia. She says that early in the morning she saw Kalia coming down from his room. It was too early for just a casual visit from a friend. She says she understands the situation now. She adds that no matter who he has met in the past, she has no intention of blaming him for it. Shaman tells Luina that it does feel like a rebuke, and he doesn't understand why he has to hear it. He asks her what she wants from him. Luina replies that he saved her in the last battle, and they met again yesterday. She wonders if her proposal is really so bad. He says he doesn't feel the need to continue the conversation. Since she approached him so rudely, he won't see her off. Luina yells Shaman's name, asking if he's even wondering why she's here proposing to him. He responds by saying he has a question for her. She mentioned seeing Kalia this morning, but did Kalia see her too? Luina exclaims that it's absurd. Is that really all he's curious about? Shaman nods and admits that Kalia is the only thing in this world he's curious about right now. Luina stands there, taken aback by his straightforward response. After that incident, Shaman gets angry about the nonsensical note. He didn't get a chance to ask if Kalia had met the princess. Instead, he feels like he needs to apologize to the man she spent the night with. It feels like she did something she shouldn't have done. He's frustrated and unsure how to handle the situation now. Shaman, a tough woman, took him 7 years to realize he was in love. The war kept them apart for another 7 years without him confessing. Finally, thanks to Kalia and him, the war ended after 7 years. Then what happens? She says sorry the next day after spending a night with him. Shaman meets with His Majesty, who asks what's bothering him. He wonders if there was a fight with Kalia, but His Majesty says no. Instead, there's a marriage proposal for Shaman from Nathan. They offer to fund the war in exchange for a future queen. Shaman feels confused by the proposal, unsure of what to do. He tells His Majesty that if he doesn't like it, he can refuse. Alternatively, he could think of something to make Nathan reconsider his offer entirely. His Majesty thanks Shaman for his input and mentions he wants to respect his cousin. Curious, Shaman asks about his earlier conversation with Kalia. Raymond shrugs it off, saying it was just about military personnel rights, nothing serious. Shaman reflects inwardly that no matter how close he is to Raymond, everything shifts when Kalia enters the picture. Raymond suggests to Shaman that if he's so curious about everything regarding Kalia, why not use a little magic to find out? Shaman replies that it's okay, he doesn't need any silly tricks. He mentions he has something to research, so he'll leave first. Raymond then brings up Shaman's upcoming business trip tomorrow and the day after, advising him to take care. He adds that he's sure Shaman will feel a bit bored without him around. A few hours ago, Kalia is struggling to figure out how to put on a shirt. She asks for help, and someone nearby calls her name. She marvels at how well a dress fits her and comments on its beauty compared to her usual uniform. Grateful for the assistance, Kalia thanks her helper sincerely. Despite finding the dress uncomfortable, she acknowledges its stunning appearance. She privately thinks that without help, it would have taken her hours to get ready. Her assistant Humming reassures her it's part of her job to assist Kalia. Humming is known for her cheerfulness, despite having lost her entire family to the plague. Kalia appreciates her loyal support. Before leaving, Kalia reflects on the need to find another competent commander-in-chief. Humming discusses with Kalia about what she witnessed earlier. Despite the Emperor's impending visit, Humming reassures Kalia that she serves her, not just the Emperor. Kalia agrees that she needs Humming's assistance for the outing. Humming expresses gratitude and mentions she'll tidy up her clothes before they leave. It's been 8 years, Kalia muses to herself. She wonders how the government managed during that time, reflecting that blaming the government isn't an excuse for her own actions. Asking Humming to stop the carriage briefly, Kalia steps out and recalls the vivid memory of saving Shyman. However, memories from before that moment are fuzzy, like mist. She struggles to recall how she survived in a dark alley. Humming interrupts, noting that staying longer will make them late for Kalia's appointment. Concerned, Kalia exclaims in realization and quickly returns to the carriage to continue their journey. They arrive at a quiet pub during off hours. Humming remarks that their contact hasn't shown up yet. Kalia asks if Humming recognizes the person they are supposed to meet, but Humming simply feels it should be this way. As Kalia looks around, her gaze lands on a boy sitting across the room. She wonders if he's the owner's son and comments on how cute he is. Her thoughts then drift to the baby growing inside her, pondering whether it will be a girl or a boy. The shop owner approaches them and apologizes for his son's behavior, mentioning that the boy tends to sit out of sight lately. Kalia reassures him it's fine and orders 2 fruit smoothies and 1 of each type of cake available. As they enjoy their food, Kalia asks if it tastes good. Humming nods, saying it's really delicious. She then asks Kalia about the person they are meeting today. Kalia starts explaining, but her thoughts trail off as she considers how to describe the upcoming meeting. After turning around, Kalia spots the boy and kindly offers him a piece of cake. He politely declines, explaining that his mom would scold him for bothering the guests. Kalia then asks if he would draw a picture for her instead, mentioning she's a collector and believes there's talent in him. The boy hesitates, but agrees when Kalia promises him a slice of lemon cake as payment. He begins to sketch a portrait of her, and Kalia is impressed by his skill. She praises his artwork and thanks him warmly. True to her word, she gives him the lemon cake in exchange for the painting. Amidst their pleasant exchange, a commotion breaks out in the pub. The shop owner is upset, telling a guest to put down some tequila shots because they don't serve strong drinks like that. Humming, curious about the disturbance, asks what's going on as they observe the scene unfolding. Without tequila, the shop owner insists the guests should buy what she offers, but they refuse. Threatening to call the guards, the owner faces backlash from an angry guest who strikes her. Her son calls out in distress, prompting other guests to summon the guards, fearing a brawl that could shut down the place for months. Another man intervenes, pleading for calm, but the situation escalates as the guests, identified as the Frenzy Mercenaries, demand alcohol and assert their status as the top mercenary group. Suddenly, Kalia steps forward to confront them. The man is startled and mocks her, questioning where she came from and mocking her bravery. Ignoring his taunts, Kalia swiftly strikes him with a fork, causing him to cry out in pain and order his comrades to attack her. As the situation escalates, Kalia remains resolute, criticizing their lack of security and challenging them further. She continues to retaliate against their aggression, delivering blows and teaching them a lesson in consequences. Meanwhile, Humming protects the shop owner's son, ensuring he remains safe amid the chaos. The man demands to know who Kalia is, questioning if she's with the wind-haired mercenaries. He threatens to call the guards, prompting Kalia to suggest he leave peacefully instead. As he tries to flee, she stops him, emphasizing the presence of a child and her desire to avoid violence. Kalia urges him to appreciate the chance to leave unharmed, seeking to resolve the situation calmly. The boy rushes to his mom, checking if she's okay. She reassures him and comforts him as he cries in relief. Meanwhile, Kalia silently regrets not taking harsher action against the troublemakers and urges her driver to leave promptly. The shop owner expresses gratitude to Kalia for her help and apologizes for the mess caused by the incident. Kalia reassures her it wasn't her fault and promises to file a restraining order with the guards against the troublemakers. The shop owner mentions her concern about Dr. Alan Macker, who had a medical appointment but fainted unexpectedly. Curious, Kalia asks for more details about Dr. Alan Macker. Kalia returns to retrieve the picture drawn by the boy and asks for his name. He introduces himself as Clark. Kalia then imparts some advice to him, saying that to protect someone he loves, he needs to be either very smart or very strong. Clark admits he's not sure about being smart, but expresses interest in becoming strong enough to defend himself. Kalia suggests he attend the Taxicate Knight Academy and use the name Josiah Terevin when enrolling. She explains that mentioning this name will help him get into the right classes that suit his abilities and goals. The shop owner wonders who Kalia is suggesting for the academy. She knows it's not an easy place to get into. Kalia raises concerns about Clark's commitment, noting that the classes will keep him away from his mother for a long time. She asks Clark if he's prepared for that. Clark seeks his mother's permission, unsure of what to say. His mom considers his request and agrees, assuring him she'll pick him up later. Kalia reassures the shop owner that they'll monitor Clark closely and mentions the academy's strict standards. The shop owner is overwhelmed with gratitude and hugs Kalia, thanking her profusely for her help and concern. Kalia is preparing to lift some luggage when Alan Macker steps in and takes it from her. He reminds her that he's advised against lifting heavy things, especially during the early stages of pregnancy. Alan emphasizes the importance of being cautious and reaching a stable period for the pregnancy. Kalia comments on his persistent reminders, noting that he seems to nag more than she initially thought. In a flashback, Kalia recalls her doctor explaining that due to family obligations, he can't provide ongoing care, but introduces his cousin, who's knowledgeable about pregnancy and childbirth. He assures Kalia that despite his nagging, he's trustworthy and dedicated after losing his wife in childbirth 6 years ago. Back in the present, Alan offers to move Kalia's luggage, showing his responsible nature. Kalia declines, opting to handle the lighter items herself. Alan insists on caution, emphasizing the importance of safety now that she's a mother. Kalia calls Humming and suggests that if she stays in the capital, she could find a better master. Humming firmly refuses, stating that Kalia is her only master, and reminding her of the promise to return to the capital together. Kalia mentions going to the boring countryside and warns that Humming might not get to wield a sword there. Despite this, Humming insists she just wants to stay by Kalia's side. Kalia agrees reluctantly and instructs Jacob to deliver a letter when she leaves. Jacob reassures her they eagerly await her return. "He's gone," Simon mutters to himself. He reflects on the potential consequences if Shimon discovers their departure, fearing for his safety. Simon expresses relief at having negotiated retirement as a temporary reprieve, believing the terms will serve them both well. "Don't stay gone too long," he adds softly, bidding farewell to Kalia as she leaves. Kalia announces they'll teleport to erase their traces, and they do so successfully. Humming confirms they've teleported and marvels at the sight of the sea outside. As they walk down the street, two women notice them and comment on their teleportation, discussing the novelty of such abilities in society. They reminisce about the excitement of their first teleportation experience. The conversation shifts to a pink pearl recently sold at an auction for a substantial sum of gold. They express awe at the price paid for it. Kalia interrupts, urging Humming to hurry as they're short on time, and they depart swiftly. Alan voices his worry to Kalia, pointing out they've already used 5 teleport scrolls, a feat that would exhaust most people. Kalia confidently reassures him, mentioning she's handled up to 10 scrolls before without any problems. Alan marvels silently at her stamina as they teleport once more to their destination. On the streets, two women discuss a gift supposedly prepared by Sir Shaman. They speculate on who the lucky recipient might be, with one suggesting it could be General Kalia. The other woman dismisses this idea, hinting it's wishful thinking rather than fact. Humming attributes her discomfort to motion sickness from teleporting too quickly. Alan offers her motion sickness medicine, which she gratefully accepts. Kalia inquires about nearby cities, and Alan mentions Antique, a quiet town not far away. They decide to hurry there, and Humming confirms she can manage. As they ride in the carriage, Humming spots an old paprika tree. Alan explains its beauty in summer, when covered in white flowers, still attracting children to play around it. Kalia watches the children with concern, worried about their safety. Suddenly, the carriage tires screech, causing Humming to lurch forward and hurt her lip. Kalia assures her she has ointment for the wound and will apply it later. Humming mentions difficulty breathing due to feeling burdened, even complaining about her breath. Kalia listens attentively, concerned for her well-being. Alan announces they've arrived at the hotel where they'll stay for the night. He acknowledges Kalia's exhaustion and advises her to rest well. Inside, Kalia finds the room clean and the blankets dry. ready for sleep. However, Kalia finds herself unable to sleep. She realizes tomorrow is the day Shaman returns, and remembers Simon mentioned having something important to discuss upon his return. She questions herself if going there is the right decision, uncertain but feeling compelled to go nonetheless. Kalia wrestles with thoughts about Shaman's reaction to her pregnancy. She wonders why he seems to dislike the idea of having a child so much. If she tells him about it, she fears he might ask her to terminate the pregnancy. Unable to sleep, she decides to take a walk to clear her mind. Looking out of her window, Kalia notices children still playing around the old tree, even at this late hour. Intrigued, she steps outside to join them. Kaylee finds herself surrounded by a group of fairies who are astonished that she can see them. One of them comments on her pretty hair and asks if she is a half-elf. Kaylee, curious about their tiny forms and shimmering wings, watches them closely. The fairies, who haven't been seen by a human in a long time, buzz around her, full of questions. They want to know if she heard their voices and are amazed that a human can see them. Kaylee remembers what the shaman said about fairies. He mentioned them sometimes, but always noted that they were rarely seen by people. The fairies tell her that their kind occupies a significant part of the world, about 20%, but they often hide from humans. They create barriers of massive plants and other natural barricades to conceal their entrances. Some fairy communities, like the one Kaylee encounters, live in complete seclusion. As the fairies continue to flutter around, Kaylee thinks about how unusual this meeting is. Kaylee is amazed by her first encounter with fairies. As they flutter around her, one of them suddenly asks if she can see them because of the child she's carrying. Surprised, Kaylee asks how they know about her baby. The fairies explain that they can sense children, and sometimes even young children can see them. She nods, taking this in. Then, one of the fairies flies closer and stares intensely at her, causing her to ask if something is wrong. The fairies begin to chatter amongst themselves, debating whether her baby is special. Kaylee, confused, asks what they mean. The fairies tell her there's a beautiful light coming from her stomach. She looks down, puzzled, and asks about the light. The fairies excitedly describe it as shiny and pretty, something they've never seen before. They insist that the baby must be very special because of the unique light it emits. Kaylee reflects on how this encounter has given her a glimpse into a hidden world. Their words sound like prophecies, and she just wants her baby to have a normal life, unlike her own. As she thinks about this, one of the fairies notices the change in her expression and asks why she looks pale, wondering if she is sick. Another fairy suggests giving her some fairy water, a precious substance known as a panacea, but the other fairies are unsure if it will work or who should administer it. Kaylee feels guilty for worrying the fairies and assures them that she is okay. She thanks them for their concern, but politely declines the offer of fairy water, knowing that it is made from their tears. She doesn't want them to cry for her sake, insisting that she is stronger than she looks. To reassure them, she gently hugs the fairy who suggested the water, and soon the other two fairies join in the hug. As she prepares to leave, Kaylee tells the fairies that she will return before leaving the next day. The fairies bid her goodbye, their tiny voices filled with warmth and hope. After Kaylee leaves, the fairies continue to discuss what they observed. One fairy wonders aloud if it isn't just children who have a glow, thinking back to the strong light they saw coming from Kaylee's stomach. Another fairy points out that there was a light around Kaylee herself, too. This makes them question whether Kaylee is entirely human, despite what she said. They speculate that Kaylee might not even be aware of her true nature. One fairy proudly claims to have always been the smart one, unlike the others, which sparks a playful argument. The other two fairies challenge this claim, and soon all three are engaged in a friendly competition, teasing and chasing each other around. The next morning, Kaylee goes out and calls for the kids, expecting to see the fairies again. To her surprise, there is no sign of them. She keeps calling, but there is no response. Thinking they might still be asleep, she looks around and notices a shiny bottle on the ground. She bends down to pick it up, and as she does, the tree beside her shakes, startling her. Despite her surprise, she takes the bottle in her hands. Looking at the tree, Kaylee wonders aloud if it might be a fairy tree. If the fairies were here, She would thank them in person, but she decides to leave something for them anyway. She places some cookies at the base of the tree as a token of gratitude and asks the tree to thank the kids for her. She even gives the tree a gentle kiss, feeling a bit silly but sincere. Kaylee tells the tree she will stop by again on her way back. As she steps back, she feels the tree shake once more and wonders if the pillar she leaned on is shaking, or if it is just her imagination. Kaylee says goodbye to the tree, asking it to tell the kids not to talk about her if anyone comes. She turns to leave, unaware that a man is watching her. He wonders who she is and why she stroked the tree and talked to it as if it were special. Nearby, a girl is being beaten up and cries for help. The man rushes over to assist her. He helps her up and gently points her towards the tree, asking if she can see it. He explains that the room they are in was specially chosen for its view of the tree. Desperately, he asks if she can see the fairy. The girl, Melina, shakes her head and says she can't see anything. The man is dismayed, muttering that if she can't see the fairy, then treating her is in vain. Frustrated and concerned, he calls out to Daimon, pointing out the kids nearby. As Kaylee and her companion Humming are on their way back, Humming notices her distraction and asks if she left something behind. Kaylee shakes her head and says it's nothing, though she can't help but think about what she just saw. She finds it strange that the prince of the Akan kingdom was there. Akan is a neutral country next to Rojas, uninterested in wars or economic changes, and it usually keeps to itself. In a flashback, Kaylee recalls her visit to the Akan kingdom. She had heard many times that Akan's medical products were renowned for their quality. As she wandered through the bustling market, inspecting the various herbs and tinctures, a figure approached her. It was Prince Borf Adio Akan, the Prince of Akan himself. He recognized her and, with a warm smile, asked if she was the famous Kaylee he had heard about. As their conversation continued, Prince Borf's demeanor changed. He mentioned rumors he had heard about her, calling her the hero of Rojas and implying that she elevated the status of the imperial family. When he reached out to touch her, Kaylee quickly stopped him, threatening to cut off his wrist if he did. The prince laughed, mocking her sensitivity, and teased her about being a general. Kaylee retorted that she wanted to remove his hat herself, making her point clear. Suddenly, a flash of lightning lit up the sky, and the prince's expression darkened with anger. Kaylee knew immediately that it was the work of shaman, whose specialty was lightning magic. This realization prompted her to walk away, leaving the prince fuming and demanding to know who was responsible for the interruption. Back in the present, Kaylee is lost in thought about the encounter. Humming calls her name, snapping her back to reality. She asks Kaylee what she has been thinking about, sensing her distraction. Kaylee responds that she has a favor to ask and requests a moment to speak to Brick. Humming agrees, waiting patiently as Kaylee prepares to share her thoughts. Kaylee knows she needs to address the issue of Prince Akan. He seems dangerous, and she needs to secretly deliver a warning to Her Highness. As she contemplates her next move, a voice suddenly speaks from the bottle she holds. It's Brick. Brick's voice asks who she is, and Kaylee identifies herself. Brick then explains the magic in the bottle can change the mind of an opponent and insists that Shaman wouldn't go that far, clarifying that they're not even close friends, just acquaintances. Kaylee recalls a time when Shaman destroyed her mansion in a fit of rage over a missing friend. With Shaman back, there is no time to waste. However, Kaylee is aware that returning prematurely might make the prince recognize her, complicating things further. Decides it's best to leave as soon as possible. She informs Brick of her plan and adds one more request, asking him to relay a message to Shaman. Brick is confused, but agrees before the magic in the bottle dissipates. Kaylee turns to Humming and Alan, urging them to move out immediately. Sensing her urgency, they prepare to leave. Concerned for Humming's well-being, Kaylee apologizes for the rush, but Humming reassures her, trying to stay strong. With that, they teleport once again, leaving their current location behind. Kaylee and her companions have traveled 500 kilometers in a single day, a grueling pace that has left everyone exhausted. The constant travel is taking its toll on them. Despite their exhaustion, they press on, covering an additional 900 kilometers by carriage over the next 2 days. The relentless journey stretches their endurance to the limit. Every muscle aches, and the lack of proper rest weighs heavily on them. They pull up to a hotel and knock on the door. The owner answers and asks who they are. Kaylee explains that her cousin and sister aren't feeling well, and they're looking for a place to stay for a while. "Of course, come on in," the owner says cheerfully, calling out to her partner that they have guests. Alan uses his magic to see the baby. Fortunately, the baby appears healthy and quite big. He turns to Kaylee with a smile, asking if she thinks it's cute. Kaylee smiles back, curious about the baby's size. She asks Alan how big the baby is at this stage. He explains that everything looks good and mentions how relieved he is that Kaylee hasn't experienced morning sickness. Despite feeling healthy compared to other mothers, he reminds her to always be cautious and take care of herself. Looking into the future, Kaylee knows that everything she sees and hears can affect her baby. After Alan leaves, she starts to complain about feeling like she's being constantly scrutinized. She wonders aloud if this level of attention will continue even after the baby is born. Speaking softly to her baby, Kaylee apologizes, acknowledging that she had a rough day, but assures the baby she's not spoiled. She reflects on the events that led to Shaman's attack and questions herself if she could have prevented it. She thinks back to the moments with Simon, realizing how close they came to kissing. Kaylee recalls the night she spent with Shaman in the hallway using a rope and the studio table. Thinking back, she realizes she shouldn't blame herself for what happened. Feeling warm inside, she decides to take a walk outside. The night air feels refreshing and cool as she steps outdoors. At the same time in Entric, Shaman visits the tree and gently touches it. He notices the slow recovery of the tree and acknowledges that magic alone isn't sufficient. Shaman believes the tree needs time and the right environment to heal properly. He reflects that only fairies created with joy and care can truly help the tree recover. Kaylee thinks about the letter she left behind for Shaman and how it might affect him. In the letter, she explains that it's the first time she's written to him in over 20 years. Reflecting on their history, she realizes the absence of letters between them was sad. She recalls the day they first met, when she saved him from being abducted, and how that moment shaped their fate together. Kaylee expresses her gratitude for Shaman's presence in her life and apologizes for leaving suddenly without saying goodbye. She compares it to the day they first met, when they followed fate's lead. Kaylee thinks deeply about her decision, knowing it affects both her and Shaman. She wants him to understand that she's doing this for everyone's benefit. Kaylee reassures him that he doesn't need to search for her because she'll return when the time is right, bringing many surprises with her. Adding a postscript to the letter, Kaylee apologizes again for the events of that day. She reflects on Shaman's qualities, expressing admiration for him. Shaman sits down, puzzled by the letter from Kalia. Suddenly, Brick arrives with a message from her, saying she's now in Entric. Shaman immediately heads to Entric, calling out for Kalia upon arrival. He wonders aloud if she's using lightning magic, scanning the area for any signs of her. Shaman's mind races with thoughts of finding Kalia and what might have caused her to leave. Shaman ponders the situation, baffled by the possibility of a high-class wizard using lightning magic. None of the wizards he knows could have attacked the fairy tree. Reflecting further, Shaman realizes there's no way Kalia left without leaving a trace behind. The fact that traces of her presence remain suggests there's a reason for her actions. Using his magic to teleport, Shaman arrives at a location and spots a girl lying on the floor. He examines her closely, wondering if she might be an elf or some kind of monster. Shaman urgently contacts Derek, following the coordinates he received. Upon arrival, he notices a tree emitting a familiar glow. Nearby, he spots someone and approaches cautiously, asking if they're an elf and if they've seen Kalia, a strong, beautiful woman with light green eyes. The fairies nearby distract Shaman with talk of delicious cookies, but he interrupts them, insisting they tell him about Kalia. As he presses for answers, the fairies begin to vanish, leaving him frustrated and pleading for them to finish their sentence. Feeling the urgency of finding Kalia, Shaman wrestles with the fleeting clues and the mysterious disappearance of the fairies. Alan steps outside when he hears Kalia calling from the balcony. She mentions the name Nadia, and Alan's emotions stir as he recalls where he's heard that name before. He apologizes to Kalia, feeling guilt over not being able to protect someone named Nadia. He embraces Kalia, seeking solace in her presence. Kalia, confused and empathetic, wonders how to comfort Alan as he expresses sorrow for not saving Nadia. Suddenly, Kalia remembers that Nadia is Alan's deceased wife. She realizes Alan might see similarities between her and Nadia, which explains his emotional reaction. Wanting to help Alan snap out of his grief, Kalia encourages him to gather himself. "Kalia," Alan calls out, and she asks if he's coming to his senses. He wonders if he went out while sleepwalking. Kalia acknowledges his symptoms, mentioning how he sometimes sleepwalks when tired or sick. Alan reflects on how he thought he had overcome this tendency, but believes it's resurfacing due to recent fatigue. He apologizes for showing this side of himself, but Kalia reassures him that it's okay. Alan admits feeling pathetic and didn't expect to be in this state. Kalia then asks about his wife's name, Nadia. Alan confirms it and acknowledges his enduring love for her. Kalia empathizes, understanding the depth of Alan's feelings for Nadia. Alan shares with Kalia that thinking about his late wife always brings a pang to his heart. Kalia empathizes, asking if he feels sad, to which Alan explains it's more about missing her presence rather than sadness. He expresses that even though Nadia isn't physically with him, he believes she would want him to find happiness. Kalia remarks on the depth of his feelings. Alan then inquires about the child, wondering if they are with the person Kalia loves. Kalia admits they care deeply for each other, but haven't clearly defined their relationship. Alan probes further, questioning if they are just friends, to which Kalia is surprised at his perceptiveness. Alan playfully suggests he's more predictable than she anticipated, implying his own apprehension about clarity. Confused by his remark, Kalia seeks clarification, asking if he means she's afraid. "I mean, you have much more charisma than me," Alan admits, reassuring Kalia he didn't mean any harm. Kalia accepts his apology and tells him not to worry. Alan then asks Kalia why she wants to raise the child alone. Kalia explains that she sees the child as a blessing and a miracle, but she worries it might be a burden to someone else. She expresses her hope that the child will be born into a happy environment. Alan reassures Kalia that she will be a wonderful mother. Grateful for his encouragement, Kalia thanks Alan sincerely. The housekeeper brings over a plate of spinach frittata and freshly baked bread for Kalia's snack, explaining how her pregnancy has been difficult and her mother used to cook comforting meals for her. Kalia thanks her sincerely for the food. Curious about Kalia traveling alone while pregnant, the housekeeper asks about her husband or siblings. Kalia hesitates, feeling uneasy that revealing too much might alert Shaman to her pregnancy. In her mind, she admits she's actually running away from her husband. Alan and Humming react with shock to Kalia's revelation. She explains how her husband was neglectful, obsessed with gambling and alcohol, and frequently unfaithful. His drinking often led to anger and conflict at home, which became unbearable for her. Kalia admits she reached a breaking point and decided to leave. The housekeeper, taken aback by the story, expresses her anger towards Kalia's husband. Kalia, however, takes responsibility, acknowledging her choice in marrying him despite the warning signs. She reflects on the hardships she endured, realizing the toll it took on her. Kalia asks if they can keep her whereabouts a secret if anyone comes looking for her. The housekeeper assures her that she'll keep quiet and pretend she doesn't know anything to protect Kalia. Grateful for their support, Kalia compliments the delicious bread the housekeeper made. The housekeeper insists on packing some for Kalia to take along. Kalia appreciates the gesture and accepts it graciously, despite initially declining. Meanwhile, Shaman frantically teleports from place to place in his search for Kalia. His thoughts are consumed with worry and frustration. He wonders why Kalia left without a word, questioning if he means so little to her that she could disappear so suddenly. The countdown of 3 remaining days intensifies his anxiety, and he feels on the verge of losing his sanity. Shaman arrives and is told to wait by the person he's meeting, who dismisses the servants. The man asks if Shaman has found Kalia yet, and Shaman responds with a terse no. The man reflects that things have become clearer since Kalia's escape, noting that even Shaman can't easily leave the Imperial Palace now. He mentions hearing about a suspicious body that looks like a fairy. Shaman, still uncertain about the details, confirms that nothing is certain yet. The man mentions that he's been receiving strange reports about a foreign nobleman who recently bought an ancient castle near the fairy's forest. He asks Shaman if he's heard about it. Shaman replies that it's just a rumor and that the nobleman supposedly likes to collect fairies. The man recalls that there was a time when humans were enemies with other species, but now, through agreements, they coexist peacefully. He stresses the importance of maintaining a careful relationship with fairies and elves, as they are now considered untouchable. He asks Shaman to investigate the matter further, emphasizing the need to handle it delicately. According to Kalia's request, they must proceed with caution to avoid any potential conflicts. The man acknowledges that Shaman is covering for Kalia, understanding that Shaman would do anything she asks. He tries to act like he understands, but deep down he can't accept it. Shaman, in turn, says he won't take on any tasks for the time being. Shaman then brings up the tradition of the Imperial Archmage Union, noting how the towers usually operate through borders based on patriotism and loyalty. Shaman's tone changes as he admits that he no longer feels much patriotism. He tells the man that his loyalty no longer lies here. His Majesty offers to give Shaman Kalia's first sword as a gesture of apology, but Shaman dismisses the offer, stating that apologies can't change the past. The king mutters about how difficult Shaman is to like as Shaman leaves the room. It's not enough that he's been hiding the rumors about Kalia running away. Finding her is also urgent. He can't believe the king wants him to take on another task when his priority is locating Kalia. In the tower's lab, Shaman questions the scientist about the peculiar girl they've been studying. The scientist explains that more research is needed due to numerous suspicious details. The girl's blood resembles that of fairies, but her organs are more human-like. Her appearance, however, is similar to a banshee, although banshees typically look uglier. The scientist goes on to describe the magic waves left in the girl's body as quite special but chaotic. He notes that despite the unusual nature of these waves, it doesn't seem like her abilities have changed. Shaman reflects on this, considering that if the girl is a fairy, she would be able to use her abilities as naturally as she breathes. Shaman contemplates Theon's observation about the girl's magic being a chaotic mess, suspecting that someone might have forcibly infused it. He presses the scientist for conclusions. The scientist, clearly frightened, hesitates. Frustrated, Shaman demands the truth. Finally, the scientist admits that the body is a monster, revealing they've discovered something terrifying. This revelation triggers Shaman's memory of his conversation with the king about the castle near the fairy forest. The connection between the castle and the monster becomes clearer in his mind. Realizing there is no other option, Shaman reluctantly decides he must accept the king's offer to investigate the castle. Kalia stands at the peak, looking over the village. It's been 4 years since she last did this. Back then, she was expecting Simon's child. She never imagined she'd be back here again. Life always seems to pull her in different directions when she's awake, leading her to unexpected moments. It's both exciting and a bit scary for her. This time, she's in Lua, a beautiful city on Earth, wondering what surprises life has in store for her. Kalia notices a girl who moved into the mansion a month ago and wonders about her. Someone nearby asks if she came all the way here to find her husband's hometown. Kalia confirms and mentions that the girl's name is Leah Raymond. The person remarks on how lucky Leah is, noting that goblins and ogres haven't appeared since she arrived. Just then, a maid informs Kalia that the newspaper has arrived. Kalia thanks her and starts reading. The headline catches her eye. Duke Simon Turlone, the Empire's flower and a great mage, used barrier magic to inflict significant damage on Roshiar's navy when they invaded part of his area on the 28th. The newspaper reports that the Duke called the incident a barrier malfunction, but there's speculation it might be retaliation. Princess Louise of Roshiarte, who was turned down by the Duke, has criticized him harshly. There are even offensive comments implying she might be a man, which seem to misinterpret the Duke's actions. Kalia wonders why these things keep making headlines. It's the 3rd time he's been in the news recently, and she can't help but think he's trying to cause trouble. Kalia remembers a few weeks ago when Simon blew up a palace and then disappeared. She wondered if he was a dirty-tempered shaman. One day, Humming calls her and says that Simon has fully unleashed his magical powers. Kalia is surprised and asks for confirmation. Humming explains that it's too much power to handle and that Simon was in a coma for 3 days. The headline in the newspaper reads that Simon Turlone has expanded his magical range to 1,000 kilometers, surpassing the previous record of 800 kilometers. This full opening is as significant as drawing a wizard's blood. Kalia is puzzled, thinking about what he might be planning. She wonders if he's trying to find her and questions the risk he's taking just to find a friend. She thinks, no matter how mad he is, this seems crazy. Back then, Kalia wants to keep something secret and tells him so. He asks why, and she explains that it's due to personal reasons and she can't give more details. He questions if she would still refuse even under the prince's orders. Kalia responds that if he can take responsibility with her, she will gladly comply. However, he interrupts, saying he's afraid to ask for that kind of commitment. He then offers her a temporary retirement, but insists that if Simon finds her, she must return. He adds that he's made a lot of concessions and doesn't want any more trouble from her. Presently, Kalia thinks about how, if the prince had told Simon she was leaving, Simon would have stopped at nothing to find out why. His best friend suddenly retiring and disappearing without an explanation wouldn't sit well with him. She believes there's no need for him to search for her in such a dangerous way. Talking to her baby, she reflects on Simon's temper and determination. She knows he will use any means to find her, but she's confident she's hidden too well. She wonders if even finding her would be enough for him. Kalia recalls an old saying, "You can't steal seeds." It means that a child's true parentage can't be hidden, and indeed, her child looks just like Simon. Her servants have also remarked on the resemblance, emphasizing that you can't deny a child's true origins. Ms. Makana confirms that the roast is ready when Humming asks, and Humming takes the meal to Kalia. She brings the meal to Kalia, who mentions that she's still hungry. Humming is surprised that Kalia is hungry again after just 3 hours and suggests she can eat the whole turkey. Kalia offers to cut it herself using magic, making the process much faster. Humming comments that Kalia is quicker than any cook. Kalia notes that the cooked meat is much easier to cut than raw meat, and says she'll explain more about that later. Meanwhile, Alan is about to tell Kalia that he needs to go on a business trip when he overhears the conversation. He notices that her food intake is increasing day by day and worries about the risks of gestational diabetes or obesity. He grumbles to himself about having to leave at a time like this. Calling out to Kalia, he advises her to eat in moderation. Kalia, meanwhile, is calmly sipping her tea. Humming mentions that it's definitely warmer in the south than in the Empire's winter, and Kalia compares it to a chilly autumn. Humming then tells Kalia about the festival Lua celebrates in the spring. Kalia realizes she's never been to a festival before and thinks it sounds like a dream. She feels relaxed with nothing to worry about except for Simon, who visits the night school she founded every day. Kalia looks at the newsletter, confused about what is special in it, and expresses her frustration. Humming asks if she's upset. Kalia complains that no matter how much she eats, she's hungry again after 10 minutes. Humming remarks that she thought Kalia wasn't really human because of her incredible appetite. Kalia complains about the cold, exclaiming how freezing it is. A lady nearby greets her and comments on the nice weather, but Kalia disagrees, reminding the lady not to walk around when it's so cold. The lady worries that the wind might blow her away. Humming agrees, saying Kalia looks like she was about to faint. Kalia asks Humming where the nosy doctor is going. The lady advises Kalia not to wander around too much and to hurry back inside. Kalia thanks her for worrying so much about her. The lady notices Kalia coughing and tells her to wait while she gets some warming packs. A man offers Kalia a warming pack for her hands, and she hesitates before asking if she can take it. The man insists, saying pregnant women need to take good care of themselves and shouldn't get sick. Kalia thanks him and takes the warming pack. Humming suggests getting some fresh fruits, and Kalia agrees. They come across freshly harvested apples, and a woman encourages them to try some. Kalia compliments the apples, saying they smell lovely and look delicious as she splits one. The woman is surprised at how easily the apple splits, and Kalia quickly attributes it to the apple being ripe. Kalia suggests buying a lot of the apples, and they decide to make the purchase before leaving. Afterward, Kalia comments that pretending to be weak isn't easy. In the 5th month of her pregnancy, Alan talks to Kalia about the importance of taking good care of herself and surrounding herself with beauty and healthy food. He mentions that the baby can feel and absorb everything she eats. Kalia asks to read something, insisting that she wants to do it herself despite Alan's suggestion that he read it to her. He explains that research shows a father's voice can communicate better with unborn babies, but Kalia insists she wants the baby to hear her voice as the mother. Alan understands and hands her the material to read herself, advising her to read it with a sweet voice so the baby can hear. He bids her good night and leaves, but he remembers Kalia's earlier comment about him not being the baby's father. As Kalia reads, the story unfolds about a bear in a village. The bear is often teased for his rough hands and sunburned skin. He lacks fancy swords, shoes, or hats to shield himself from the sun. One day, a massive storm strikes the bear's village. During the storm, it swept away the swords, shoes, and hats of other animals. They blamed the gods for their losses. Suddenly, a god appeared and said, "I gave you everything and took nothing away. It's just that you refused to see it." The animals tried to understand these words. Just then, a hungry tiger appeared, searching for something to eat. It learned to survive with its bare hands and feet. This made the other animals realize they had sharper claws than swords, faster feet without shoes, and better vision without hats. As they grasped this lesson, they understood the true gifts they possessed all along. That's when the bear realized that despite feeling like he had nothing, he actually had plenty of strengths. He used his strong arms, keen vision, and cleverness to travel to new places and embark on adventures. Over time, the bear matured and became known as the world's strongest bear. Kalia asks if her baby can hear her well. She tells the baby that they can become anyone they want, just like the bear did. It's a message of encouragement and hope for the future. "Nothing's impossible," she whispers softly as they prepare to sleep, promising to dedicate all her happiness to the baby and shield it from harm. Feeling the baby kick harder than usual, she marvels at the sensation, thinking about how she cares deeply for the child despite not being its father. As Kalia contemplates the future, she imagines the traits she hopes her baby will inherit from both herself and Shaman. Suddenly, Shaman's voice breaks through her thoughts. He begins by asking about his stomach, then delicately broaches the topic of their future together, subtly hinting at the idea of having children. He expresses a deep longing to see their baby and confesses how much he misses her presence. Caught in the moment, Kalia realizes she's dreaming. In her dream state, she reflects on their bond and the possibility of a future that includes their child. Kalia hears Shaman's voice saying he misses her and pleads for her to come back, promising to be better and not complain anymore. She questions herself, realizing they grew up together like siblings and shouldn't expect more. Despite this, she feels his warmth and senses his love realistically. She wonders if it's a dream, deciding it must be because Shaman could never love her like that. With that thought, she wakes up abruptly. Confused by the vivid dream she had in her pregnant state, Kalia exclaims about its strangeness and the impact on her noble status. She quickly rationalizes that it's likely just hormonal changes causing such dreams. Reflecting, she considers whether seeing Shaman's picture before bed influenced the dream. Feeling unsettled by her reaction, she apologizes silently to herself and decides to go downstairs. "Up early, Ms. Makana," Kalia greets her as they begin the day. "Good morning, Leah," Ms. Makana responds. Kalia complains about the noisy roads due to the gypsies passing through, making it hard to sleep. Makana asks if Kalia has seen the gypsies, and Kalia confirms she saw a few on her way. Ms. Makana notes the capital's abundance of gypsies, finding them charming despite their noise. She offers to prepare meals early, but Kalia prefers to wait for everyone else. Understanding Kalia's preference, Ms. Makana suggests making grape juice instead. Thinking about Ms. Makana's family, Kalia recalls that she has 5 children. "I also brought some bread. Bought it on my way here," Ms. Makana mentions, finding it delicious. She suggests it as a good appetizer. Kalia thanks her and agrees to have some before the meal. Curious about Ms. Makana's family, Kalia asks if it's crowded at her house. Ms. Makana describes the scene. It's noisy and ear-splitting. The second child often argues with the third, while the youngest does whatever they please. The eldest isn't home much, and the fourth child tends to be nice, although they can get upset after arguments with Miss Makana's husband. Miss Makana notes their ability to get along well and asks if Kalia wants to inquire further. Kalia hesitates, mentioning that Ms. Makana has experience with motherhood 5 times over. She asks about dreams involving the baby's father, unsure if it's normal. Kalia admits it's her first time experiencing such dreams and feels embarrassed about it. Ms. Makana reassures Kalia that dreaming about the baby's father is common, sharing her own experiences with her first and second children. Kalia questions the normalcy of such dreams, prompting Ms. Makana to explain that while not everyone has them, they're not considered abnormal. Relieved to hear this, Kalia admits the dream felt intense and reflects on her innocence. She realizes there's no need to feel embarrassed, but wonders where such ideas came from. She remembers Shaman's words and finds it odd how often she thinks about him despite their distance, jokingly pondering if he cast a spell on her. Ms. Makana cautions Kalia about the potential for uterine contractions during dreams, emphasizing the importance of being cautious. Despite her current state of pregnancy, she knows her physical strength is far beyond what most people expect. She could easily break bones with her bare hands. She wonders how Ms. Makana would react if she knew this truth. Shifting gears, Kalia suggests they have breakfast soon. She plans to continue living under her alias, Leah Raymond, for the foreseeable future. This identity offers her a sense of safety and normalcy amidst the complexities of her life. How do you think this drama is going to play out? Comment Kalia below for part 2. Also, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, ciao!